We just came up. Did you see that?
We did. I've got it so it comes from the bottom. So we look like we're
on an elevator.
We are.
We're on that ride that my wife loves.
What's that?
The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
We look like, when we come up like that, it's like,
Isn't it
like we're going to drop again.
It's too slow though. I feel like the
Guardians too slow.
The Guardians of the Galaxy is like fast.
Oh,
do we come up pretty fast?
That was kind of cool. It wasn't fast. I'd say it was
medium.
Yeah, at a medium pace.
Out of 10, what would you give the speed?
Like a 6.
Okay, that's medium.
Medium.
What are we even doing today, Tyler?
Oh man, I'm so excited to have this guest on. Someone who's near and dear to my heart. She is a digital integration specialist and someone I've known for many, many years. We've worked together in the digital dentistry space. I've learned a ton from her. A lot of the stuff I know about digital dentistry comes from her. Yeah.
She knows her stuff?
She knows her stuff.
Yeah. We're a huge fan.
We're a huge fan.
Huge fan.
She's feisty. She's fun.
She is feisty. I like that about her.
Yeah. She's our Portuguese friend, Maria.
Let's bring her in.
There she is.
Oh, look at even to the end of the music. We should do that every time. I ruined it though by saying that.
Welcome our feisty integration special. I say feisty, I mean spirited and fun.
Spirited, yes. Yeah.
How are you, Maria?
I'm great. Call it what you want, but it's true. And anyone that has worked with me in the past knows that I'm a little bundle of amazingness in the most feistiest and fieriest and sassiest way possible.
Well, sometimes you just gotta throw down, right? You gotta
You've never been feisty to me. Well, let's see. You see, when you're feisty to me, I don't take you seriously. I think it makes me laugh. So I think it's more funny than anything.
Well, I try to have a really good angle with it.
Don't piss her off.
I know. Maybe I just haven't made you mad yet.
We gotta make her mad. Let's try and make her feisty on the show.
Today our objective is to make Maria angry at us.
Take her over. So on a scale, okay, Maria, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now on the feisty scale?
To be honest with you, I'm a little bit like a 4 at the moment.
Is that because the Amazon guy, you had to go down and figure your stuff out, buddy?
The Amazon guy brought me to about a 6,
and
then I had to take a few deep breaths.
Okay, good. Okay,
what did they do? Did they screw up your order?
Well, no, they just came to pick up my return.
Oh.
And it was just like an impossible feat. And it's just like Amazon, you've got all these things in place. You've got all of this protocol and process, and yet it still tends to be a bit of a difficulty.
I feel the level going up. You see that?
Yeah, I think you're creeping up to a 5 right now.
Just don't talk about Pure Later. As my kids would ever say, if you want to see me get real riled up, let's talk about Pure Later and FedEx.
Really?
Because then I absolutely lose my mind.
Okay, let's get into it.
Here's my theory: is that it's real easy to get the products out the door to your door.
You're hot taking.
It's way harder to get the products back into the warehouse, and I think that might be by design.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is.
So.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. Okay, let's jump in today. So digital integration specialist, Maria, we had you on the show 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right smack dab in the middle of COVID.
Guys, lots has happened since then. I came on to talk about, I guess kind of like digital dentistry, and I was on with Elise, and we were chatting about all this, wonderful stuff. And, it was interesting because I was just kind of transitioning a little bit out of dentistry, and then I slowly came back in. Now here I am again.
Every time I leave, they pull me back.
Yeah, that's good.
I tried several times, but
I told you, I was like, run, you're free. You can run away now. Go.
You know what? I drive my kids crazy because every time we're at the mall or anything like that, I'm always like, oh, I got to see which dentist is in the area, and oh, I got to see if I know these people. And it's like anywhere, any travel, anything that I do, I always have to go and check out the dentist.
And there are a lot.
You forget how many people you know in this industry too, right? I mean, dentists, CDAs, hygienists, suppliers, manufacturers, and even just all the people that we know that work technicians. There's so many people that we've known if you've been doing this for as long as we have.
Yeah.
It was cool to it was actually really cool to be at the PDC this year to see everybody's lovely faces again. It was fun.
Nice to do it in person again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for helping us.
Yeah, no worries. Well, it was great for me because and just to kind of maybe update you guys on kind of what's been going on since I last was on in 2019. So back then I was, just being with ProTech for, several years. I was really, really, fortunate to have been with the company for such a long time. Had wonderful mentors with both Neil and Garrett. I thank my lucky stars that I had as much of an opportunity there as I did. And then I took kind of a little bit of a brief step away from dentistry. I needed to kind of organize my kids a little bit more. And so I decided to move into the world of festivals, which was super cool. Like if you ever have the opportunity to do anything like that, it's really great to kind of build up your self-confidence, learn a little bit more about structure and process and protocol, and then you can kind of implement it into where your passion is. And for me, my passion is dentistry, and specifically digital dentistry. So after that, COVID happened. I did that webinar with you guys. Was really great. Got to be able to kind of restructure my life a little bit, really put the focus on what was really important for me, was being present for my kids. The industry, as you guys both know, you've been in the industry a long time, it can take away a little bit from your family. Mm-hmm. And, I had some pretty major life stuff happen. My son was my oldest was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. All mm-hmm. of a sudden that throws you through an absolute loop. Wow. And you really understand that you have to be present because, things can happen at the blink of an eye and you don't even know what's going, right? So life was kind of spinning a little bit out of control. So, it needed to be done a little bit differently. So I did have the opportunity, just as kind of COVID was starting to kind of balance out a little bit, to actually get some employment with Evident, which is an outsourcing digital design company. And again, super fortunate to be able to work kind of more in a global market, specifically to digital designs, in-office manufacturing, really working on digital workflows and all that jazz, in order for me to just have a better, clear understanding of the digital industry and field. With what I kind of wanted to be doing is I wanted to be able to assist where I could clinically, but I also had all of this lab knowledge. And so trying to kind of bridge it all together has always been a bit of a challenge. So, Evident did give me the opportunity to do that, because I was dealing more with what was happening chairside, even though it was a bit more of a removed system, because I was here in Canada. A lot of my clients were in the States mm-hmm. or overseas. I had a really great client in Ireland that I was dealing with, and just seeing the push into that digital workflow was just outstanding. It was super exciting. The States also kind of went through a huge shift with COVID, in the fact that a lot of the labs and stuff just weren't able to sustain life. And then dentists were left a little bit more in that position where they needed to do more in-office manufacturing. Totally. They still had patients that they needed to see. They still had treatment that they needed to complete. So then there was this major, major, major push to see what that all looked like. Mm-hmm. So to work with these guys and really understand that like they're making things happen chairside was unreal. Like for you to be able to immediately load an all on X without having to rely on all of these different steps with your labs and multiple appointments and things was incredible. And it really got me excited. And just looking forward to kind of, what those next steps are. And then in January, just a little bit more recently, I had to take a step back and focus again on my family and just make sure that I was able to kind of balance all of the things as my kids continue to grow. And my son's, situation with his diabetes is, slowly but surely starting to balance out a bit. But he still does.
That's good to hear.
Hands-on support. But, he's going into grade 8 next year. So I'm hoping that means that he can continue to be on that path for independence. But in the meantime, that's also given me the opportunity to kind of rejig my passion again and see where I'm able to kind of lend a hand differently in order to be able to, again, commit to growing the industry and the field as everyone tries to kind of go through this path of the digital journey.
So, Maria, like we're Tanya, like we have your back, that anything you need.
100%.
So, glad to hear that things are leveling off for you. It's good. Mm-hmm. What give us on a scale of 1 to 10. We're doing a lot of scales of 1 to 10 today. What's the interest like? And I know the Canadian market's a little bit different. What's on the whole like? Here's 2 questions. What's the interest in the Canadian market to push more chairside versus the U.S. moving towards chairside and fully going for it at a scale of 10, Canada, U.S.
Okay. Well, let's start with the U.S. because that's like a 8.5, 9.
They're going for it.
They're just giving her. Yeah.
And there's a lot of really great support for them to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then on the Canadian market, it's like 2, 3.
Oh, wow.
So what?
Okay.
And this seems to be a common theme in the Canadian market. This
is digital adoption we're talking about.
Yeah. So what is it? What is it about? Is it a cultural thing? What is it about Canadians that is it just the companies aren't pushing as hard in Canada and educating the market on these things? Like what's holding Canada back from being an 8?
I think that there's a multitude of things that kind of can come into play. I think one of the bigger ones that I kind of see is that relationships for Canadians are really important. And, when you are partnered with a really great lab and you're doing the things that you're needing to do and all that stuff, there tends to be that kind of hesitation to really, affect that relationship with trying to figure out how to do things in office. I think that there are a lot of more kind of smaller labs that are able to kind of sustain the different practices and the things that you're needing. I think that the availability of equipment, the availability of resins, that's also a big one.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of a hesitation, right? Like it's scary.
It's a materials thing. Yeah.
Really intimidating.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you are putting all of that pressure. So, once you start manufacturing in-house, whose problem is it? It's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get stuck, it can be a bit challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there is an immense fear right now. I mean, the single unit posterior in particular, like laboratories are seeing big clients switching over to a chairside situation. I mean, it's the easiest part of their business, but it also drives a lot of volume through the laboratory. How do you see the relationship with the laboratory and the practice, like moving into the future with this technology, sort of enabling clinicians to do more chairside stuff? Where's the laboratory going to fit in the future?
Well, these chairside solutions have been around for a million years. You know what I mean? Like Sorona's done a really great job with kind of having that inclusive system to be able to empower clinics to be able to do things like same-day dentistry, be able to kind of cycle through things a little bit quicker, kind of filling in where, labs may not always be able to kind of produce or meet deadlines or anything like that, right? But there's always going to be that need for labs. It's always going to be there. You will always have, those bigger cases, those more complex type situations. It's not always going to be as simple and straightforward. I don't believe at any point will there ever just be in-office manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So I think that one of the things that I've always kind of focused on when I'm kind of integrating the digital technology and, printing and all of that kind of jazz is that it's still important to value your lab. It's still important to ensure that you're maintaining that relationship and that you're having those open lines of communication because it's an extension of your team, right?
Yeah, there's so much technology that comes out of the lab, like not just like machines and stuff that they have in the lab, but it's really more like they're innovators, right? Like if you're going to try to do something chairside in your lab or in your office, chances are a lab's already been down that road. So it's always good to pick up the phone and talk to your lab about that particular workflow. I like that Mark jumped into the whole what you see in the U.S. versus Canada. Just going back to your story, Maria, thank you for filling us in on what's been happening in your life for the last few years. Like, where has that gotten you to now? Like, where we kind of jumped over, like, where, like, here we are going into 2023, or sorry, we're well into 2023. Excuse me. It's December. Christmas is right around the corner.
Really?
But like now where are you?
Yeah. So good question. I'm kind of, definitely taken a turn into, the things that I'm wanting to do. But basically I've settled into a place where I really want to be able to focus on, providing assistance and support to clinicians and to, their staff with any kind of, intraoral scanner related kind of workflow stuff. So say, for example, you've got, all of these different scanners in your clinic, you've had a bit of a changeover in staff, or your staff just hasn't really been able to kind of pick up in the speed or in the communication with the patient or, any of those other valuable patient communication aspects of it. I want to make sure that I'm going in there and giving you and the team the tools to be able to really utilize that piece of equipment. Everyone always talks about, return on investment. And if that scanner's not working and if you're not doing what you're needing to do, you're not getting that return on investment. And more nowadays, there's this whole fear, this FOMO of like, being left behind and staying relevant. And I'm finding that a lot of clinics sometimes end up stuck in this situation where they're not able to utilize all of this because they just don't have the means to do it. Mm-hmm. And it breaks my heart to see equipment sitting around. And I know that, I've had some conversations with some other, digital specialists on, there's certain brands and certain manufacturers where, that equipment doesn't stay still. But, a scanner, especially nowadays, there's been so much improvement in the quality of the scan that for the most part, if the scanner's been purchased within the last, like, say, 4-ish years, 4 or 5 years, the quality and the accuracy of the scan is pretty much going to be about the same. So if you've got a piece of equipment that's sitting there and you don't even know where to begin on trying to get it back into implementing it into your clinic, then that's kind of where I come into play, because you probably don't have any training left with whomever you've purchased it with. You've had significant turnover. You've got maybe some associates that have come in and out of the practice, and everybody's just so quick to just pick up that impression material and take that impression versus taking that scanner and doing it that way.
So it sounds like you're really busy with this. Like, it sounds like there's a huge demand for someone, a third-party integration specialist such as yourself, to come in and really sort of bridge that gap between, and like you said, there's the turnover, finding staff, turnover of associates, all the rest of it, excuse me, where they buy that piece of equipment and they did get the training. And that's what the question that popped into my mind first. I'm like, well, wouldn't that scanner come with training? But you're right. There's turnover. There's, obviously everyone's always trying to work on team harmony. We get that, right? But, adversity happens. This is part of running a business. So all of a sudden you have a whole new staff. You've got this piece of equipment sitting in the corner. You're like, well, everyone did know how to use it. Now no one knows how to use it.
And I would also say too, like, the unique mix of technology in the practice too. The companies that sell the products are, there are some companies that have some really great training programs, but, they're going to handle that particular piece of equipment. And where Maria, where I think you've got a tiger by the tail, is that what we say? Tiger by the tail? Is
lightning in a bottle.
You could jump into a practice, and this is why you're so smoking busy, and you will be into the future. There's a definite need in digital, like, you're integrating these things, and the return on investment. That's like, I talked to Mark Stevens last week from iTero, and the name of the game is using that piece of equipment for what it was intended to do to its full potential, especially if you're investing in, say, a G5 fully equipped iTero scanner, or, the latest Trios.
A lot of money.
Or Prime Scan.
All of them. They're all like you touched on it already. Like, they're all super accurate. Like, they're all, like, the image quality, like, everything, the speed is all there.
So are you agnostic? Do you work with everything then?
I work with everything. That's kind of my job.
So if I had like a Condor from 2012, is that can you integrate that?
It needs to be able to, like, turn on and take a scan, and then I'm good.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think part of the thing that makes it a little bit interesting for me as well is that I don't just look at it as, oh, you have a crown prep. Okay, well, let's take a scan. You know what I mean? There's so much more to it. So my main focus typically when I go into a practice is, first I do kind of like an assessment. Like, what's going on? What type of clientele do you have? How many dentists do you have? Like, what's your jam? And then from there, I kind of try to figure out what's going to be my, path of amazingness, like, do you have enough scanners? Is your scanner going to work? Like, is your computer updated? Like, just really, really, really simple things in order to be able to at least get the ball moving, right? And then we start in a sequence of, let's focus on new patients first, okay? New patients are coming to your clinic. There's a reason why they've picked you as a clinic in most instances. It could be as simple as just like a Google, could have been a recommendation. But when that patient comes into the office, it's really important to be able to kind of give them that wow factor. So that doesn't just happen with the front staff, the initial person that they're meeting. It happens throughout the whole course of that visit. So I focus on that whole course of visit, right? So just because I'm focusing on the intraoral scanner doesn't mean that there isn't other things that I'm touching on. And I know that there are other companies out there that really deal a lot with, front staff and all of that stuff. So I kind of try to bridge both of them. I try to bridge the clinical aspect of it as well as the front staff.
Front and back house, yep.
That blend, right?
That's brilliant.
And also, being that you have, like, deep roots and time in the laboratory space, you're also, you can touch on how to communicate with this technology to the laboratory as well. And that part is also critical.
my biggest piece, aside just from like, getting the scanner working, is communication. Because I have, like you mentioned, even working at ProTech, I was in kind of that prosthetic, fixed and removable prosthetic department, right? There's a lot of communication that can happen. You're dealing with margins, you're dealing with scans, you're dealing with treatment planning, you're dealing with all sorts of stuff. And if you're not able to articulate to the office exactly what they're needing in order to be able to get success on that case, that's one thing on the lab side. But then it comes twofold with the clinic side. If the clinic's not able to communicate exactly what they're looking for, then the lab ends up kind of at a weak side as well, because there's a lot of kind of figuring out and maneuvering that needs to be done in order to have that case success.
There's some guesswork.
Sorry?
Guesswork.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to do is take out all of that guesswork so that it's just a bit more of a fluid, path, so that, as you guys know, you've both been in the industry a long time. Dentists and clinical offices do not have time for anything. Everything is so tightly scheduled that all of the moving parts need to function appropriately.
100%.
And I want to make sure that happens. And, be it in just, okay, well, if you've got the, say, for example, a Medit. You're scanning with the Medit. What is your workflow to do dentures? What's your workflow to do crown and bridge? Do you guys have a cheat sheet? Do you understand how all of the tools work? Same process goes with all of the other scanners. So the benefit that I've had is that I have had exposure to several scanners. I continue to have exposure to these scanners in order to really understand, their, strengths and limitations, and being able to kind of work with them as best as they can in order to get you what you're looking for in terms of that digital implementation and workflow. And then the other half of that is that when you are in that situation where you're wanting to do some in-office manufacturing, then, I can also tie in those pieces as well. There's a lot of different printers out there. The teams that are selling these printers, they've got such great support staff also. So in those instances, I'm more of a kind of a midfielder, where I'm a bit more of a coordinator and just making sure that everyone's getting all the pieces of information that they're needing. And then from there, I can continue to support once all that training and everything is done in terms of, resins and what kind of workflows we're going to focus on, and really fine tuning all of that. And again, just making sure that everyone understands, okay, what are things that show value in manufacturing in office to, really increase that ROI versus things that may just be better left to a lab, because that's just going to end up being a better course of action for you and your patient.
I have a question.
Maria, this is your jam. Like, it's so, like, you got this stuff nailed.
I'm passionate about it.
No, it's shining through the camera here.
I love hearing you talk about it. Like, there's such a huge need for this in the market.
Absolutely.
So my question now is, like, of course, I come from years of being a supplier, like, materials. So I know we've talked. There's hesitancy in the Canadian market to get in to the digital space, just because and I agree with you guys. I think there is a return on investment. What materials are available? Like, if I'm a dentist and I'm worried about my bottom line, I'm just trying to get my practice to work effectively and efficiently. And I'm like, man, I don't have time to implement a scanner right now. Like, it's just going to add another layer of stress to my life, which I don't really need. Yeah. So it sounds like you're really sort of answering the bell on that. That need. Am I over here? Hi.
I just do that every now and then.
Sort of answering the bell on that need. I didn't say it. There wasn't hot take. There was no hot takes yet. Should there be a hot take on that?
Yeah.
Think about it.
I hate my life. No, just kidding. I
missed the cue.
That was me pretending to be like a stressed out person. I hate my life. I love my life. I'm just kidding. My point is, see, now I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
So the resistance with materials and the ROI and all the rest of it. So like I said, I think you're answering the bell on, hey, you know what? Like, let's make sure this equipment's working. Let's make sure it's communicating properly. First part of my question is, so someone bought something, say maybe a year ago, it stopped working properly. The team couldn't get it to work, and they don't really use it because the team doesn't get it to work. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So you're speaking specifically to the intraoral scanner, or are you talking like printer?
Well, like a scanner. I mean, you said that you're focusing mostly on scanners. So I guess kind of a two-part question is,
that's where it starts, right?
What do you do? Like, if someone's like, we don't really use it because, number one, the team doesn't know how to use it. It's not working. It's not doing what we want it to. It's malfunctioning to some sort. So how do you tackle that? And then, are you moving into the other areas outside of scanning?
So here's my hot take. The scanner, the iOS, is the gateway.
The gateway.
It is
the gateway.
It's a gateway drug.
Although, yeah, once you start digital, you don't. I guess there's that, and there's.
We were so much better with the hot take camera before we started rolling.
Yeah, I know. And I just keep derailing.
super good question, Tyler. And I actually had a situation where this has happened.
Okay.
Basically, they had a scanner for 2 years, had done a total of about 20 scans with the scanner in the 2 years. Went in there, took a peek. Turns out that they had an issue with the compatibility of their computer. Oftentimes, what's super great with the majority of the laptop-based scanners now is that the companies are including a really well-powered laptop.
Right.
But there are some companies out there that you have the option of purchasing your own laptop, in which case then sometimes you don't really understand what you're needing in terms of specs and in terms of kind of, all of that jazz. And then you end up in a situation where you're just not able to really power your laptop and your scanner. Right. So it was really something as simple as just upgrading the laptop, which did the trick. And in another instance, it was just a matter of a whole bunch of updates that were never done. And so those were really, some very, very quick fixes. So whenever I go in to do an assessment, I always kind of take a peek and see, like, where are you at with the updates? Like, are you on the newest version? Is there limitations as to why you're not on the newest version? Who did you purchase your scanners from? Do you have any warranty left? Is there anything that we're able to do? Can we reach out to them? Like, I try to kind of like do what needs to be done in order to make sure that we can get that step one working, because without that step one, we have nothing.
And do you find that being out in the field that 9 times out of 10 or even 10 times out of 10, the scanner works fine. It just needs a tweak? Or just like you said, so the examples you're giving, but rarely are you walking in and going, well, I mean, even if you had a defective one, I mean, hopefully you identify it before the warranty expires. But I mean, do you really see many defective scanners out in the market? I mean, these things are pretty bulletproof nowadays, no?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
They're generally speaking, a scanner, as long as everything is functional in terms of this physical software, then they're doing the trick. And like I said, it's been pretty straightforward so far. Some of the units like Prime Scan and things like that, especially if they come in like the big cart type thing, you're dealing with companies. You've got, DentalBytes is really great at, being able to help out even, with anything, right? So it really just depends on who you're purchasing your equipment from. You have a variety of different scanner companies on the market, specifically here in Canada. You see kind of like the big ones. You see the Iteros, the Trioses, the Medits, the Prime Scan. What other one is there? You see like Shining every now and again. They're kind of a little bit hot to the Canadian market, but they've been really, really influential in the American market.
Interesting.
So they're just kind of coming into the Canadian market now. But it's different. Like back in the day, like 6 or 7 or even 8 years ago, Trios was kind of like the king of all of it, because they really were innovative with the way that they were doing their things. And with labs, with 3Shape, with the digital design and stuff, everything just really kind of worked really well together. Mm-hmm. Whereas now with things like exocad and stuff like that, and dentists wanting to design and things in office, and more and more people are committing to the Sirona world as well. You've got a variety of accessible tools at your fingertip in order to be able to make everything kind of work for what you're needing it to.
I'm seeing more exocad out there in the clinical space. Is it like, what do you think the top 3 design softwares are out there?
Didn't Align just buy exocad as well?
Is that, maybe that's what it is?
You know what? I
don't want to spread rumors.
Sure, because I have heard a bunch of stuff about exocad recently.
Okay, well,
somebody else bought them, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen.
Yeah,
but
I just want to make sure we check our sources on that before we say that.
Yeah, I'm not your source.
Mark Stevenson.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I wasn't on that podcast,
a trick question.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's Itero has this new thing with their scanners called Smile Architect.
Yes.
Which is similar, I guess, to the Smile design of Trios and Medit, kind of, sort of ish.
Cool.
And so I believe it is a light version of exocad-ish that they've used to kind of do that. But part of the reason why exocad has been a little bit more prevalent recently is because it is quite a bit more affordable, quite a bit more user-friendly, and you've got a lot of different opportunities with equipment where it's kind of linked in. Like Armin Gerbach has exocad, and there's a whole bunch of different milling companies and such that have a version of exocad built into all of their stuff.
Right.
So it's just become a bit more prominent in the industry, which is great. Great thing with exocad as well as a clinician, for example, is if you're dealing with a lab or either a lab that's designing for you or even an outsourced lab that's using exocad, they're able to send you a web viewer to show you your design before they even release the file. So in 3Shape, you've got, screenshots that you can do, or they can just send you the STL and you throw it into the 3D web view or whatever. But exocad's got a really great communication aspect. And so for me, for example, in kind of dealing with patient communication, office communication, and all of that jazz, I find that it's very, very handy to have another step of that communication that's easily accessible. And you don't need to necessarily download it. It's all kind of web-based. It's really easy.
So you're previewing the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're reviewing the case even before that download comes to you. So
that's smart.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great ways to be able to communicate as a clinician to the lab or as a clinician to the outsourced design center with those larger cases, because you're able to kind of see it face to face. Because a lot of the stuff that ends up happening nowadays is that, dentists don't have the time to go walk over to the lab or drive over to the lab, or, sometimes they're not even in the same city. So to have these other tools of communication, it's great. It's like Medit and the patient share, so that you can send the scan to your colleague to be able to review it. Like, there's so many different variations in the digital world that it's just really exciting. Like, collaboration is possible because there's so many wicked tools out there.
And I think one of the most important pieces of it is, if we're talking about communication, working on a project with Dentsply right now, their treatment center is bananas awesome. Like, being able to pull up images or whatever that might be to communicate to your patient is crucial to growth. Like, patient education, if we want to talk about case acceptance.
Have you seen their recent treatment centers?
It's so cool. I'm nerding out with this stuff.
Yeah. So if you ever have a chance to go into Fraj Edher's office, or I know Peter's got a couple of offices that are he's got the treatment centers going in.
His office is on my list. I still haven't gone down there, but I hear that it's amazing.
Faraj's?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth a look just to walk through and check it out. But he's got the latest Xanos treatment centers, and
so
it's
cool.
like everything is built into that chair. This thing's like a living, breathing robot. Like they're so cool. But Mark's right. Like it does so much because everything's on the chair, right? The education, the screen, the scan, you name it. You can import the CT scan. You can import the surface scan. It's all right there.
Your endo file system, whatever you're using, like it's pretty cool. And then, we're not only talking about like patient communication, but like, Maria, like, how much time are you freeing up for people when they understand and are utilizing these tools like to their full ability? Like,
it's a great question. I want to know that now.
Yeah.
So now you've been in the office and you've given people tools. Like, how is that journey for the office, for the team?
You know what? It's a sense of relief. It's a sense of accomplishment. I think that one of the greatest things that I can say that gives me the greatest feeling is that you see these bright shining stars just glow, and sometimes it's just a matter of really being given the opportunity to do it, right? Whenever I go into there, I always let the front office know, you guys need to make sure at the very beginning to just book a little bit more time for a scan, okay? It's going to take time. We're on a learning curve. We're doing all that stuff. And so by opening up that communication with the front desk, you're really allowing the clinical staff to be successful. And then it's like all of a sudden they're fighting over the scanner. And that's the best thing that I can actually achieve, is the fact that they get excited because it's not intimidating anymore. And the dentists are happy because they're seeing those scans. The labs are happy because the scans are coming through clearly. It's all just super, super, super amazing. So it's just, and by the end of you getting your scans all down pat, say a PVS impression is taking you 4 to 5 minutes, with curing and all that kind of jazz, you can do that with the scanner. And you know what? Your lab is not going to call you to tell you to take a new scan, because you're going to be able to see the clarity of the margin like that.
Right.
That is so cool. And I have been in a situation where I've been sitting beside a CDA or someone trying to take a scan, where it's just not going well, and they've got the pressure on them because they're like, this appointment's ending in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and I need to get the scan, and I've only got half the arch done, and it keeps making me go back to the beginning. So I've been there beside someone going through that stress. So just knowing that there is someone like you out there who can say, no, like, a little more time, breathe, do it properly, take your time,
Absolutely.
Get it done right.
And then Tyler and I were in this situation too with Ed Lowe, where the scan was done, and he was literally had his iPhone up like this on FaceTime with the laboratory, looking at the scan, patient still in the chair, pointing out like areas on the prep that needed to be zipped a couple more times.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's
in
amazing.
real time, being able to pull that up and
Yeah.
look at it is like, it's a game changer.
Yeah, and that right there is saving that patient time. They don't have
100%.
they don't have to
And,
come
like,
back in now. It's so cool.
being on the lab side of it, like I had to be the one calling for new impressions all the time, right? So I know how awful that is. But I've also worked in an office. I've been there. I've had to call the patient. I've had to hear the disappointment in their voices when, that scan needed to be retaken. So that's why this has become really a bit of a passion project for me, is because even with myself personally, I don't like impression material in my mouth. It's just, it's awkward. It's weird. It's slimy. It's all of that stuff.
It's just yuck.
Yeah, it's just yuck. And so in order for me to be able to just be there, get a scan, yes, there.
Sorry.
Oh my God, that must have been Mark.
No, come on. Look at the controls that he's
Look
got.
at all the controls in front of me. I'm not allowed to touch the controls. The sounds will not be PG if I'm running the board.
Yeah, I don't have any. I got nothing over here, guys. So that's all to you guys. But yeah, I just want this to be successful. I want people to be happy, and I want people to really understand that a visit at the dentist doesn't have to suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And there are scanners out there, like for example, Shining. Newer to the Canadian market. Again, patient communication is really important for me. They've got the ability that you can actually do kind of like a pre-progress report, kind of, sort of. I can't really recall what the actual title of it is called. But anyways, you're able to log all of this stuff on to their thing, and then you're able to do a preview of a patient report, which actually shows you all of the images of the scan. You've only just taken a scan, okay? That's all you did. Scan and a bite. And this report presents the scan to the patient. You can make notes if they've got anything going on with treatment or anything like that. You can do all of that. And then on top of that, it gives you a QR code that you can take a picture of.
No way.
And the
that's
patient gets a 3D digital model that they can manipulate on their phone with that full report with it.
That is so cool.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I
mean,
Sign me up.
with this stuff, like with technology done right, the patient no longer feels like they're in a traditional dental office anymore.
Listen, this is the worst thing that can happen. There's two industries in the world, my opinion, okay, only my opinion, two industries in the world where people feel like they're getting a little bit, I use the term screwed over, but just
Ripped off.
Yeah, ripped off, right? Mechanics, dentistry.
Fair.
Okay. Now, with all of these different tools, you're able to physically present the information to the patient in a way that they can understand.
Yes.
Right? And that's where I'm really, really excited about it, because they can do that. Once the patient has their teeth in a 3D kind of outlook, it tells a completely different story than a picture in a mirror or in a tooth.
Well, even this too, dentist has a bite wing up on the screen. Like the patient has no idea. It's Greek. It's Greek to them. They don't know.
They don't know.
So yeah.
But we, like you said, how many times have you heard a friend say, "Hey, you're in dental. I went to my dentist and they said I need a crown. It's going to cost me $2,000. Can you believe it? Oh my God, am I getting ripped off?" And it's like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
First of all, I know nothing about the situation. And number two, do you know what dentistry costs? Do you know how expensive it is to perform dentistry? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
This is
I have this argument with my dad all the time, because he's always just like, I'm like, Dad, do you know how much a root canal file is? Dad, do you know how much this is? Dad, you kind of have to just really have a really clear understanding. But you don't know unless you're in the field. Right?
Well, not only that, they're medically trained doctors performing medical treatments. It's.
But they're not covered by MSP, right?
Well,
So
things are changing. Things are changing.
That's
There is some coverage for kids now, right? It's kind of happening.
And for seniors, they just made some adjustments.
Oh, cool.
But Maria, I think you're onto something with the digital. Showing people images, showing them the scans, and saying, listen, there's a lot of technology that goes into pulling this information out and showing it to you, and showing all the steps that are required along the way to restore your oral health, right? The 20 years of you not coming to the dentist, it's going to cost you a few bucks to get that back to what you want it to be, right?
And let's talk about this too. This is proven by science now. The other issues in the body that are stemming from poor oral health, heart disease, you name it, it's important. Your mouth is important.
100%. And one of the other things that I kind of do too in my role, only just because I care more than anything, is a lot of terminology and how to communicate with the patient, right? Because that has to be kind of in line with what so the clinical staff in the front end kind of have to be aligned. So again, that blending of the two. So if you're using terms with your patient that are completely foreign to them, that's not going to make them feel comfortable or confident in anything that you're saying to them, and they're not really going to be able to understand the severity of the situation. And I find that there's been, I've been in a lot of clinics and I've talked to a lot of clinics before in my time in labs and stuff, and I'm telling you, it's important. Like, spend the energy in making sure that the way that your staff is communicating with the patient is done in a way that is going to make them feel safe and secure in the practice that they've chosen, and B, that you're giving them what they're needing.
Or find out what they want.
Yeah, that
right?
too.
Start with that conversation. Like, we've done a complete exam. Here's what we're finding now. Now that we sort of understand what's happening in your mouth, is there anything that you might want? Are you having pain? Is there something, once you really sort of put the patient in control of their journey, then you're really handing it over. I think that's one of the biggest steps in making someone feel safe, is that, hey, you know what, thank you for coming in. We really appreciate having you. You're the hero of my story, and I'm just here to guide you.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the wrong one.
Oh, man. I thought that was a nice moment.
Okay, you know what? You're gonna get taken.
This is the one. Sorry.
Right.
sorry, Tyler.
So if you're running a practice, who's like, and we stole this from Michael Thorne, a good friend of ours, is that who's the hero of your story, right? The patient's the hero.
Yeah.
And you're just there. You're Yoda, and you're like, okay, you have two paths in front of you: neglect, despair, death, health.
Well, that's even like
prosperity.
My personal journey in life and the people that take space in my life. I'm here to nurture and to do what I can to make sure that you're going to be okay. And it's the same with the way that I am with the patients, and it's the same that I am with the clinical staff. A lot of times people are like, well, Maria, you're got a lot of feist and you've got a lot of fire and you got a lot of this stuff. Like, how do you kind of like tone it down when you're coming into a clinic? And it's like my mama bear comes out a bit. So you can have that kind of feist to start that drive and do all of that, but you have to have that nurturing capability for people to actually like drink the juice and understand the value of it. And I also, in part of, before I start with the clinic, I go through a presentation with them so that they really do clearly understand the benefits of digital dentistry. And I have a component there as well for printing. Like, for example, if you've got a night guard, patient drops their night guard, instead of having to bring the patient back in, take new impressions, blah, 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 blah. If it's within the 4 to 5 months or so, give or take, you can just either send it back to the lab or reprint it in-house. Like, there's so many valuable factors of digital dentistry that I just want everybody to do it,
Well, like I said, rapid prototyping, right? I mean, I think rapid prototyping, aka printing, is changing the game. Like, just like you said, right?
In
like,
every industry, yeah.
We talk about night guards. I mean, even now dentures, like if someone goes and loses their denture or they get it run over by a car or something like that, just call your dentist and say, hey, can you print me a new denture?
Yeah, give or take. Yes, there are some variables that come into play.
Of course.
Right? But
I'm being very pie in the sky.
Like, it's not a car, it's the elephant steps on it.
Yeah, an elephant. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was at the zoo.
And then people are always asking me, like, with digital printing, okay, well, I'm not ready to do night guards. I'm not ready to do this. Like, what's stuff that I can do that's really easy and straightforward with digital printing?
Custom tray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not even just a custom tray. Make a set of frickin' frackin' models and give them a custom tray.
And also, like...
Is that a brand name? Frickin' Frackin' Models?
It is, yeah. Maria's starting a new Frickin' Frack. It's part of her whole lineup.
Those are nicknames.
It's her feisty lineup of Frickin' Fracks.
On the show, right, guys? Frickin' Frackin'?
Frickin' Frackin'.
Yeah.
That's what we say.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, like the hesitation, I get it. Like the laboratory is kind of quality control, right?
So are you, it sounds like you're hinting to the fact that you're also moving into the printer milling space. Like, are you, so say if I've got a scanner and, you're working with, my team in the office and I'm like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to get a mill or a printer. Is this a conversation that a dentist is having with you?
Yeah. So, yes, 100%.
Okay.
And it's very, very exciting. The mill world is a little bit different for me. I have, a good space in the mill world, but there are just so many different variables that happen in the mill world that I'm more focusing on that if somebody wants to get into that kind of step one, if they're not going in with that Sirona system, because then that mill situation is completely different than that.
That's a white glove full service. I mean, the CEREC, as we know, the Dental Bytes has really buttoned that down, is like fully supported, amazing product, et cetera, and we all know that. So going into the milling space, you're like, you are going that way. I mean, I think that your acumen in the world of the milling world is quite broad. Like you do have a lot of knowledge in this area. So I think you'd probably be the first person I'd call when it comes to like, hey, what mill do I choose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple suggestions now and again. And again, just with the exposure in the U.S. market as well, and kind of seeing what they're doing, because they've got dentists milling their own zirconia all on X in office with their mills, which is just insane. So it did definitely give me a lot of exposure. But on the Canadian side, because I know it is a little bit of a slower ramp up, then I'm kind of trying to kind of focus on those baby steps with the clinics, that if they do want to get into some sort of manufacturing, to go from printing to milling, you're starting to already understand and kind of comprehend the steps that come into play. And so I think that's a really good segue into the milling world. But I try to start small and just focus on that printing aspect first, get the team really comfortable with it, get that ROI kind of coming in, and then from there, move on to other equipment.
Okay, so you think printing should come before milling?
It again depends on the clinic.
Right.
If the clinic is really, they've got a powerhouse of an individual that can kind of take it on, then sure. But if it is something that, everybody's relatively green, they really do need a little bit more support, then I do feel that printing can be a little bit more straightforward.
That's interesting.
I would agree with that.
Well, I think now that, there's so many printers, there's like the Sprint Ray and Form Labs and Desktop Health and all these great new desktop printers on the market. I think you're right. I think it could be an easier first step versus, investing in, not to throw name brands out there, but there's, as we know, there's tons of different third-party mills out there that you can say, well, each one has its own unique attributes that you really kind of need to wrap your head around. And I think that it does take a lot more time and energy to research mills versus printers.
Well, and you got to
and
versus a printer is very different too, right?
Sorry, what's that, Maria?
The price point of a mill versus a printer,
right?
And we're talking about two different things, though. We're talking about a fixed restorative, and an appliance. It's two different balls of wax.
Yeah. Whoa!
Oh, I know.
I'll stop you right there.
You can 3D print zirconia, blah blah blah. But I've heard this. I've heard a laboratory.
We're going to light him up, Maria. Let's go.
I heard a laboratory say this. I won't say any names, but they saw somebody post, and I won't say the name of the mill either. They're like, man, that mill makes some really nice temporary crowns. It's like, ha ha ha.
Okay, Maria, go. Let him have it.
You can print.
Yes, say it.
It better be good, because I'm gonna really hammer you with a sound effect.
Say it.
Go for it. You can print. Yeah.
Uh-oh, we lost her. Did you turn her sound off? That's not fair. That's cheating.
Hey,
Maria, say hi. I want to make sure we can hear you. I lost her sound.
no, she's still on.
Hi.
Okay, you're back. Sorry, I lost you. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's because Mark doesn't want to hear me anymore because he knows. You can print an all on X, okay?
Thank you.
You can print single crowns.
What's an all-on X, though, for anyone who doesn't know?
An all on X is a full roundhouse restorative.
Thank you.
Typically, it's placed on top of MUAs, multi-unit abutments. It's not typically, some people will put it onto tie bases and do it as like an FP1 or any of that stuff, but it is a variation of a full arch restorative solution.
Is it Health Canada approved?
All on X.
Oh, here we go.
People's mouths that I'm hoping so.
Oh no, hang on.
I only say that because that's always like the common denominator. It's like, why is Canada slow to adopt things?
Okay, Tyler, ask the same. Is it Health Canada approved? Look at the hot take.
I will.
Wrong side.
I will. Don't worry. I'm an actor. I know how to take my cue.
Okay, go for it. Okay, go.
But is it Health Canada approved?
There you go.
That's so cheesy.
Hey, Mark, just quickly, did you know that you're among 2 actors on today's show? FYI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
Tell
in a
us
movie
more.
one.
What movie?
Off to Grandmother's House We Go with Ashley Olsen and
No
Maria
way.
Mckim.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Did you get to meet them?
Mary Van Dyke and Rhea Perlman. Thank you very much.
Really?
Uh-huh. I
What
can
year
show
was
you-
that?
What year was I? I was in grade 5. And
Oh, hang on. Say that again.
what? Off to
No,
what?
say the grade 5 thing.
Oh, I was in grade 5.
So we're just got to get on the internet here. Bear with us. It's going to take us a minute. So I did a hot take there, and
Anyways,
the camera was even on.
Oh, there's too many things
Hold on.
happening.
I just got to. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do a hot take with this one.
Okay, ready?
Sorry, I just got to log on. Bear with me. Coffee? This could be a second. Bear with us.
Oh, mom. Then your mom picks up the phone. Mom, I'm on the internet.
Mom, I'm logging on.
Oh, remember?
That was the worst because you'd be waiting 5 minutes for the internet to start.
Yeah.
And then your mom would be like, "Hello." Oh,
You can
get off
hear
the phone.
You can hear her too. You could hear your mom over the computer. Like she'd come over.
Well, the worst is she'd pick up the phone and they'd start dialing, and you'd be like, "Mom, beep, 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 Mom,
Ow,
Mom, I'm getting on the internet." There's people watching this show right now that have no idea what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, and you know what? And I try to tell my kids all the time about the trials and tribulations of like back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they just laugh. They're like, "How did you even how did you do things?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I learned how to talk to people face to face, and be able to behave myself when I was taken out for dinner because I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't be taken again. I wasn't shoving tablets in my face all the time.
Yeah.
So I have rules in my house. My kids now
Do
know.
you remember?
Even more resourceful. I remember my first car. It had the cassette deck, right?
yeah.
And then you plug in the
talk
the
about this for
cassette
hours.
with the wire out of it, and then you hook it up to your dual shock
Ooh,
CD player.
That's later on.
Or your Walkman?
Do you
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
what Netscape used to do when you logged on? Do you remember the little icon in the corner?
Oh,
And the N used to spin?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm really showing my age here.
Were you guys ICQ people as well?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I met a lot of folks on that actually.
Me too.
Yeah.
Napster. We can talk for hours about that. But okay, so let's quickly get back to the All in X Health Canada. And I think this gets back to our reason
Resins.
why.
Let's just talk quickly. Resins.
I know, but here, before my point I want to make is that we talked. Mark kicked this call off, or this podcast. I can't even talk. Todd kicked this off by saying, "Hey, Canada is so behind. We're lost. We're in the dark ages." But I think it's really regulatory. It's like like All on X. They've probably been using that down there for 2 or 3 years now, right?
So the resins,
Thank you.
Sorry, this is coming off the rails here.
No, it's not.
take the buttons away from him.
I know.
No, they're mine.
Okay.
This is my thing.
Poor Maria, you probably want to get on with your day. My goodness.
Yeah, like I thought.
Hey, how's your flusser? Like, what the level set? Where are we at right now?
Are you in a fight now?
Where's your feistiness at right now?
I'm like at a 1.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Cool.
This is like an enjoyable conversation.
I
with
know
two
it
of
is.
my buddies about things that I love. Like what better?
Oh my God, let her speak, dude.
Sorry.
Jesus.
Okay.
So,
Like you do this to all of your guests?
I'm gonna mute him physically.
I mostly just do this to Tyler. So
Well, at least I've made the cut. Hey.
you have, yes, you
Made
have,
the cut.
definitely.
Go.
So quickly with All on X material. Okay, so I'm in that position currently, trying to kind of figure out an All on X, and there's a company that I kind of go to for resourcing, which is Swiss NF, because they're really on top of what's Health Canada approved.
Good guys over there at Swiss enough. We like them.
Yeah, they're super great. They're super knowledgeable. Specifically, I talked to a guy named Mark Samuel Chan, and I met him actually. I think
Is he a denturist? I think he's a denturist. Yeah.
I'm not
He
sure.
speaks at a lot of the denture
venture workflows and stuff.
shows and expos, and I think he's. But anyways, go on. I think that's where I recognize his name from.
Yeah. So anyhow, anytime I've got any questions or even just going onto the Swiss NF website, it gives me an idea of what's available for resins within Canada. So in my happy place, if I was able to get my hands on like the Sprint Ray On X tough material or the Pack Dent Rodent Sculpture, those are 2 materials that are really popular in the United States for the All on X cases, in order to be able to ensure that you are able to immediately load and have really good solidity of material for those long periods of time until you're able to put on that permanent restorative aspect. So, but here in Canada, unless you're bringing it in somehow with, however you're going to do it.
People do that.
The digital underground.
The digital underground, yeah. The dark
great
web
band.
of resins.
Carry on.
There is one.
There's a great band called Digital Underground.
Yeah. So
Great name
then
for a show.
You're really, really limited to what you can do. And then again, the other key thing to learn too about just quickly on printers is that if you are deciding to go into that printer world, is what kind of printer stuff are you wanting to do, and what resins are validated for that printer. So, for me, because I'm going into clinics that typically have a bit of equipment, but if they're wanting to go down that path, the first thing that I ask them is, what are you wanting to do?
Mm-hmm. Material.
And then from there, what kind of resins are you wanting to use? Like Keystone Soft Splints, one of the best resins out there for those, softer malleable night guards, but it's not validated for all of the printers, right? So if you have a Formlabs, for example, you can't use Keystone Soft Splint because you're tied specifically to the closed sourced system of the Formlabs and the resins that they provide.
It's like paper printers, like the ink. You can only it's so expensive. Oh, that's how they lock you up.
I think we just coined a new show. And we're going to call it the Digital Underground with Maria Mckim. And we're going to talk about all these materials that are going to eventually make it their way to Canada. And people are going to come to the show to find out what's new in the Digital Underground.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Welcome to a place where you can't find anything that's Health Canada approved. A place where you want to embrace digital technology in your dental practice, but you can't. Because the regulatory body in place is really holding your hands hostage.
Okay, now do it, Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, go for it. Do it again.
So, you want to buy a printer. I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
I totally understand. It's very logical.
Tyler, I gotta say, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, what getting a printer is?
No, your impression.
No.
It's not like, I don't know if you guys listen to Howard Stern, but it's not like some of the impression people that he has on his show.
Oh, yeah.
No, mine is.
But you're doing pretty good.
I've been doing it for a while. I've been getting old, so it's easier to sound like him. I look like him in the mirror more and more every day. From behind, though. From behind. It's not in the face. It's the back. You were gonna say something before I interrupted you. Carry on.
I don't even know what I was gonna say anymore.
We were talking about before I went into my Digital Underground thing.
You have a fluid thought.
I'm sorry.
I'm surprised that we've gotten this far.
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
That is going to be our new show, though, so don't steal it, anyone watching. It's our show.
And I've got some good. I got a few good sources.
Sweet.
So,
good.
How do you feel about those sources?
Good.
Good. Super good. Best good. Most good.
All right, let's.
We don't want to blow up the entire Earth in this one podcast. Is there? But that being said, is there anything else you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I'm fearing this. I don't like goodbye. So let's say it's not goodbye. Let's do a series.
It's see you later.
Yes.
He's going to cut you off mid-sentence. just be warned. No, we're just kidding. Okay.
No, listen.
Carry on.
In
Fight
a
for it.
nutshell,
Yeah.
okay? Basically, you were asking me what's going on, and so what's going on is that my heart is in the world of scanners and digital workflow, and I really want to be able to empower people on their digital journey as best and as most successfully as I possibly can. So I'm here in this moment to just let everybody know out there that if you've got equipment, it does not have to sit there. It is okay that it's sat there. We can get you back on track. Life is going to get good. Your patients are going to get that wow factor. And it's all going to start and stem from you as your clinician and the staff that surrounds you. And, the people that you kind of find to make all of this work, if it's me that you're wanting to do or whomever it is, we're just here as an extension of your team to just bring it all together and make you successful.
Okay. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, there's a couple of different ways.
Where can we call you?
Yeah, you can call me on my. I can give you my.
No, we're just kidding. No, just give us your handle.
So on Instagram, you can find me. My handle is _dental_dork.
Yep.
Okay. Or you can find me on Facebook as Maria Mckim. I have not gone the path of separating my personal from my life yet, only because I think that in order to understand working with me, you kind of have to understand a little bit about me. So that's how it is at the moment.
I'm not sure if I'd separate those two things, to be honest.
And one final thing, say bye-bye.
Oh, not yet. No, wait. Not yet. Was there anything else? That was it. It was a nice closing moment.
Mark, you can't just like cut me off like that.
Oh, I usually do. That's my thing. But
We got our handles.
I thought we were friends.
I liked it. I like the.
we are.
Here's where I'm coming at.
We're friends.
I love the passion, and you've always been very passionate about this particular subject, to the point where we want to kill each other, and then we laugh.
Yeah.
So, love having you in our lives. Please come back on again soon. We're gonna harass you to get back on here, and
Well, we got a whole new series.
we got a new show called.
Launched it here today.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? When we do the Dark Underworld, if it's in a time that I'm able.
Whoa! It's the Digital Underground.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
So when we
I thought it was Underworld.
I'd love to be able to be in studio with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
But we're going to change the lighting. We're going to make it look like the Digital
Red.
Underground.
It's red.
First of all, if we don't get sued for using that name, because I'm pretty sure there's a band called the Digital Underground, which was I used to listen to back in my. I used to have to log on to the internet to.
Were they from 1970?
Easy. Whoa. The Humpty Dance. Hello. Anyone?
Oh yeah.
There's four people watching this going, yeah, man. The Humpty Dance.
Yeah, there's so many people that prefer dial-up internet.
Right.
I've got the song in my head now. We can't play it because it's copyright, but
Totally copyright.
just picture it in your mind.
But
Hear it in your mind.
let's get you back on, and we'll change our sound stage.
Yeah. I'm already.
Logo
I can see. I already
I'm
know
gonna
how
call
it's
my
done.
outfit. It's gonna involve I'm gonna make a big cut around my neck. I'm gonna bleed from my face. And
I'm gonna wear like
I'm
one of those
bleeding resin.
leather masks with the zipper.
With resin. I'm gonna pour resin on my head and be like melted resin on my face.
Yeah.
It's kind of pink.
I'm looking
It's like-
forward to this. This is gonna be good.
That blood looks like gingiva.
That's a nice soft tissue.
What a grandma in their life.
Is that a D4 blood you have there? It's very stained.
Oh my God, we're nerds.
Such bad
great, though.
jokes, man.
Love it.
I almost swore there. Did you hear that? Frickin' bad jokes. That's what that was.
Frickin' frackin'.
Frickin' frackin'.
I did it. I did it.
Mark didn't want to say goodbye.
No, I didn't want to say goodbye. That was awesome.
That was so good.
This is fun.
Did you have fun, Maria?
She's upset right now.